Hey folks, it is Friday. It is the end of a week, but the start of a new year. Happy New Year, everybody. January 1st, 2021. And yes, of course, at this time of year, everyone thinks about resolutions, commitments, new things that they'd like to do and change or adjust in their life. And we're going to talk about maybe some approaches on how you do that, and maybe have a think about how does that look across cultures. Stick around.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Hello, everybody. Happy New Year.
Are we being quiet for a reason?
Well, quiet?
Quiet.
Am I too quiet? Do I need to turn up the mic here?
No. It's a relaxing day. It's the afternoon after a nice evening of joy and joyous celebration of a new year. And
that is true for me. I hope it was true for you as well.
It was.
And
it was very nice.
Look a little bit unkempt, maybe a little bit. My daily routine has been a little choppy this morning, but hey, it's a new year. We're turning a page.
Well, let me ask you this. Is there anything you'd like to change about your daily routine? Now it's a new year and you might need a commitment to some new routines. So what is it for you?
Well, I haven't finished thinking about that yet. So today, my family is observing a tradition that we started in our family. We're creating what we call mind boards. Some of you may be familiar with the term vision boards. We call it mind boards because we set our mind to what's ahead for us and what do we want to set our mind to for this year intentionally. And yeah, once I went through that process, it takes me a couple of hours to take the big poster board and hash everything out. Then there might be an answer to that question. However, I already sense something coming up that would be around my exercising routine, which has been slacking off in the last year. So I think that is something that will go on the new commitment list.
So your way of doing it is a visual sensation, right? It's and I've used these too, right? These are a board where you might grab images and cut them out of magazines or use certain words.
That could be the thing.
Right. There's a visual component to this, which really works. So it works for you. I mean, it's worked for me. I certainly need to see things even before they happen. There's great stories of people that have done this. Yeah.
Well, it's actually more than simply a visual. Actually, creating a vision board, a mind board, is, I think, a full sensory experience because you're grabbing a pen or a marker or you're cutting something out. So there's a kinesthetic experience with it. Obviously, you see what you do if you're blessed with vision, and then there's a lot of chatter that goes on around this. So we exchange ideas and thoughts within the family, or I have my mind chatter, my self-talk going on. So there is the auditory component to it, and some of these markers have a strong smell,
All right, yeah.
So there's even an olfactory component to this. So we're creating intentions, right? So it's the whole New Year's resolution concept. I struggle with that because it is, I don't know, have you ever been to a gym in January and then did you go to the same gym in March? Less than 10% of the people you saw in January are still coming in March, right? So a resolution is a fine and dandy thing. You say, new year, new calendar, new planner. Where's mine? I should have put it up here. But how much are you committed to these things that you resolve to on January 1st in your, I don't know, hungover, sober, whatever state, and then how much of that will you still be doing, or when you take inventory by the end of the year, how much of that is still left? And that's where these vision boards are quite helpful, because you look at them at the end of the year and say, didn't do that, right? Oh, okay, I did this. Could have done better on that. So actually, I'm going to find a new place because I'm in a new office. So I'll hang it right here behind the screen. You can't see this. I'll hang it up. It's a big, I want to say 3x4 poster board. So I can actually see it and remind myself this is something that I committed to working on. And I think this is the big difference. I make a resolution, right? I say lofty things and hey, cheers to you. Happy New Year, everybody. And I resolve to quitting smoking or losing weight, or I don't know, whatever you resolve to do. But there's a difference between committing and holding yourself accountable to that commitment, or allowing others to hold you accountable to that commitment, and simply uttering a resolution. That's easily done, right?
Yeah, I think the word resolution is a powerful word. It's probably chosen for its effectiveness, right? It's a resolve. It's a strong word. So it says, I am absolutely resolved to do this. But, there you go. Even though we know words have power, in this case, this word kind of, loses its power, I think, when, maybe we look at something and we think we've really resolved on it. And then if we don't do it, we kind of have let ourselves down. So this gets back. I wanted to kind of dig into a little bit of the cultural thing of this, not too much on it, but it was interesting to me. So maybe somebody's done studies in terms of what is goal setting, what are these kind of things, how do they look in particular? And the best one I could find is one from 1987, which actually measured the three different kind of cultures, and one was the US. But let's put that aside. But I thought it was interesting. The other two were actually in the same country, Israel, and it was actually the urban young Israelite who was there and living in the urban areas, and then there was also they studied people from the kibbutzes, so there was a difference in culture internally there, like when it came to power distance. So there was the measurement on how effective these kind of goal settings were done in both collectivist societies, but in two areas where there was a difference in power dynamics. So the commitment not to yourself but to another person, that you're actually going to keep your promises to. So not to belabor the point, but it was kind of an interesting read, because I thought this is an interesting way to think about how goal setting works in a culture and how maybe you might be able to relate it into your business. I mean, it's probably a bigger conversation.
And I would argue, not having been to a kibbutz yet, but I would suspect that a kibbutz is much more communitarian in its setup than like an urban setting in, let's say, Tel Aviv, where you go about a career and you're a bit more individualistic, I would suspect, right? So the accountability piece takes a different shape in those two different environments.
Yeah, although it's interesting, they called them both collectivist society. I mean, there's that wonderful relationship of we think about the Jewish mindset as being very dependent on the family. So that kind of seemed to be ubiquitous, but it was the difference in the power distance when they measured it. So kind of like having that very kind of authority or status-driven society, who said that if you're making a commitment to me, then you have to keep it. In the other setting, it was like you make a commitment to the group and yourself, and that's your drive for doing it. And it was proven, and it was seen that it was actually better. The achievement of the goals, the results, the positive results, were kind of slightly better in where there was kind of a low power distance, where there was so it was an interesting little read. I thought
because the low power distance allowed every member of the group to call each other out without recourse. I guess.
Yes. Okay. Absolutely.
And I think this is where these resolutions, where the rubber meets the road, I think, is the accountability. How. And I'm guilty as charged, and I would argue most of you out there are the same. It's great to have ideas. It's great to make plans. It's great to commit to something, and without control, without consequence, it's easy to let go of these commitments or to decommit from something. I'm not saying we need to hold all of our commitments. Some of our commitments are good for us at the time when we make them and the circumstances are there. Just imagine this time a year ago, you probably made a commitment, and then 2020 happened with everything that we vaguely remember after this past night. But that threw a wrench in your gears, right? So some of these commitments probably didn't make sense the same way they did in early January. So it's okay to consciously decommit from things that don't serve us. However, if we don't follow through on what we say we're going to do, and if we don't allow others to point that out to us, or maybe have the maturity and the willpower to confront our own shortcoming to the commitment that we made to ourselves. Without that, then it's just a lofty dream, right? A goal without commitment, or a goal without accountability, is only a dream and not a goal. And this is something that I continuously work on. My family will tell you there's goals that I set and nope, didn't follow through, and I'm not happy about it. And confronting that is sometimes uncomfortable, right? So how do we do that? How do we create this accountability? How can you keep me accountable, Brett? How can I keep you accountable?
Well, I think just being comfortable to share what you put down as a goal, right? Sometimes we can be reticent to share goals with people because we might be laughed at. There might be a certain amount of judgment that we feel people are going to bring on us if we share something, especially if it's an audacious goal. If it's an audacious something you've really kind of set a high bar on, then people there's this reticence of, in some cultures especially, for people to kind of knock you down and say, don't be silly, you're never going to be able to do that, right? So there's that. And you mentioned self-talk, right? So self-talk, that conversation may have already started, and then somebody else comes along and knocks it down and says, you know what, my inner voice was right. I need to get that inner child and kick its backside. That is the kind of thing that we push against, right? We're worried about what other people think of us. Yeah.
Well, some of us are, right? And I may have said this here before, and I'm quoting somebody that I don't know who to attribute that quote to. I love it though. As individuals or as humans, we're only completely free if we don't need to prove ourselves to anyone anymore. So this need for peer approval, not being laughed at, drives a lot of our behaviors, or prevents good behaviors because we are afraid of judgment. But that inner child, I think it might be a good practice to allow that inner child to play carefree once in a while. Because you might remember when you were still in the sand pit and dug your stuff, or whatever you did as a 3 or 4 year old, you didn't edit yourself. We did not tell ourselves, oh no, I can't do this. We went for it, right? Until somebody more advanced in age or more mature than us said, oh, you could get hurt, or don't do this because, or this is a silly idea. So somebody told us our great idea was not good.
Yeah.
And that's how these dreams get squashed. So I'm not saying we should follow all of our dreams, no matter how lofty they are, but if we're not reaching for something that's outside of our comfort zone, there we have it again, that weird concept of doing only what's comfortable, right? We're not going to accomplish anything outside of, it's going to hurt, right? Going to the gym's going to hurt. I'm going to run a little more, right? It's going to hurt. I'm not going to be happy about it. But in the end, the results will be what I want it to be. So how much do you want your resolution? How much do you really want to do that? Quit smoking, lose weight, be, I don't know, plan better. I don't know what it would be. How much do you want that? Or how much pain would you suffer if you didn't have it? What would be the detriment of not keeping your resolution? What would be the detriment to you? And if that pain isn't big enough, chances are you're not going to do it.
Yeah. That's right. So, and the other thing is that how it's hard to imagine how you would feel if you actually did it, right? You've got to actually think ahead and think, what would it be like? What would it be like for me to be 20 pounds lighter? How much energy, somebody who's done it, the resulting energy has been exponential. I've gone back to a sport I love and that kind of stuff. That feeling is visceral, right? So that's the thing I try and tap into. It doesn't mean I don't slip backwards. It certainly doesn't mean, but it may stop me from slipping backwards all the way to where I remember it being very lethargic and everything was an effort, and I was scared to walk on ice because I'd slip over and my extra weight would have me break an ankle or a wrist. These kind of, you can talk to yourself about this a lot, right? So
yeah, and the advertising industry is built around that. They create the desired outcome. They present it to you. So, hey, this is how good you'll look if you eat this, or this is how healthy you'll be if you take this type of pharmaceutical product with all its side effects. But we say those very fast and in a different voice tonality. But look, this is what you're going to look like, right? Or this is how you're going to feel driving that car. So putting ourselves into the goal that we're striving for, imagining that, and there's a powerful exercise we do in advanced NLP classes. It's called popcorning, and I'm not going to go through the process here. It takes a while to set this up, but basically what we do is we remember the future. So you could begin that exercise for yourself in your head, like, today is the day when and then you fill in the blank, when you accomplished the goal that was so big and lofty. Today's the day when I did X, Y, Z. And here's what that looked like. Here's what that sounded like. Here's what that felt like. And this is my memory of an event in the future, right? It takes some practice to do that, and it helps if you have a group to do it with. That's why we call it popcorning. But imagining something as being completed in the future, I think in the grammatical sense, it's what's the future too, right? It's happened. Something's completed in the future.
Well, we actually do this. Well, I don't know, probably everyone does this to a certain extent, but with a client who's moving to another country with their family, the whole family, and you sit there and it's a really interesting exercise to have them sit there. And instead of saying, what do you want to achieve in the 3 or 5 years you're going to go and live in this other country? What are some of yes, you've got business goals and you've got personal and professional goals that play into this, but what are you going to do as a family? What's it going to look like? And then often I will say, just imagine that you and I bump into each other in a coffee shop in the airport of the country, and you're on your way home after these 3 or 5 years. You're actually packed, you're coming back. What if I said to you, what have you achieved in your time in this country? What are you really the most proud of? Tell me what that conversation would look like. These are and people go, oh, wow, that's a different way of looking at it. So that I think that may be a smaller, basic version of what
it is. It's a similar concept, right? It's and I think it was Walt Disney. Yes, that's a very U.S. American way of looking at it. But Walt Disney is often portrayed as the most imaginative entrepreneur of the 20th century, who simply wouldn't quit. He would not let the naysayers squash his dreams. He would not listen to the people that laughed at him. He said, well, what the mind can conceive, we can achieve, right? So he conceived his reality and he made it happen. And to some people, to some mindsets, that's a difficult task. I admit it sometimes still is for me, because I'm my own worst critic, and I would argue that it's similar for many of you out there watching. One of my mentors years ago told me, would you allow anybody in your life to talk to you the way you talk to yourself? Would you allow anybody else to talk to you that way? And I had to sit there in silence and let that sink in and realize, no, I would probably punch you in the face if you talk to me the way I talk to myself. So keep that in mind. Shut that inner critic up. And if you make those, and when you make those resolutions, write them down. Let others read them. Maybe write a letter to yourself seal it in an envelope, and send it to somebody, and ask that person in a year from now, give me that letter. So maybe seal it in an envelope, put it in another envelope, send it to, I don't know, I'll send it to Brett, and Brett will send it back to me a year from now, so I can read the letter that I wrote to myself. Big ouch moment sometimes, also big aha moment. Look at that. What, I only thought of this? Hey, look at me.
Right.
I accomplished that. This
Yeah,
is how
yeah.
small I thought. Hey, I
Yeah.
overachieved what I wrote a year ago. You might surprise yourself.
No, I think you can. You will certainly surprise yourself. Who have we got on here? We got some viewers here. Eric, happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year, Eric.
Sorry if I haven't been watching the screen. You've already done this. I'm sorry, but
Doesn't matter. We should acknowledge the people who are watching. Eric, thanks for tuning in. Happy New Year. And then a name that I have a hard time pronouncing. Maybe you can do that.
I don't know. So it always depends on the pronunciation of the middle of the Somchai, or I would go Somchai, if it was the Polish pronouncing. But this is we like the topic. Thank you very much. And of course, promises that tomorrow I'll be watching and posting on the timelines. So
nice.
Good night. So we're assuming it's nighttime where you are, Somchai. Thank you very much for joining. This is great. Yeah.
So. Are you ready to share a commitment publicly that you're making for this year, or are we not there yet?
On the spot, I don't know. I think, I haven't actually finished my. I'm actually doing the same process of you. It's funny because New Year's Eve lands on a Friday, and I thought, well, today, we've got we're here together. I'm just going to sit. We've got the weekend, and I've kind of earmarked tomorrow as a bit of my regular day. It would normally be New Year's Day because.
Okay, I'm going to make a commitment then. I'm going to make a public commitment that in 2021 there will be at least 250 episodes of Two Chaps, Many Cultures. So that's one commitment I make, and the other commitment will be that I will strategically plan out every quarter in my planner with open enrollment training courses that are being offered ahead of times, not the way that I've been doing it in COVID times, where I reinvented a little bit how I make certain offerings to my community and to my clients. So there'll be a strategic plan quarter by quarter on open enrollment training courses, cultural training courses, and they will be publicized online, and you will hear about it, and you will get newsletters, and you will ask yourselves, wow, why is he emailing me so much now? He didn't used to do that. And you will love it. You will be happy to get emails from me, and it will be of service to you, right? So that's a commitment I make.
Absolutely. Good. The key point there was a little bit, I got to say, is a little bit, I'm going to do the. What about specifics? What about how many? Is it 2 a quarter? Good. Is it 3 a quarter? I don't know.
Thank you for nailing me on that. I haven't decided that yet.
Well, you can work on this.
Yes. My goal will be I think ideally the goal will be to have, depending on the topic of the training that I make available, I want to have 1 per quarter for each topic. I haven't made up my mind how many topics there will be. Most likely 3, but that's still in the process. So
excellent.
That's the goal.
Work in progress. Fantastic. Well, I love it. Thank you very much. Well, of course, please share this with your friends and foes. I mean, even enemies need help.
Yeah.
You can love your enemy like you love, and share it. And also, please add your comments. What's your idea of a resolution? What's your idea of a new commitment? How do you put your plans in place? How do you feel when you achieve them? That is, of course, another thing that we love to hear. And also, just subscribe to our channels. If you're new here, this is the show of the business of culture and the culture of business. So these things are applicable in business too, right? We have business goals that are important, but don't forget the loved ones. This is a new year. This is, be safe, be well. Let's go into this new year with some big audacious plans, and let's kick their butt.
Yes. Let's write an awesome story for 2021. I want, when you read the book of 2021 a year from now, you will go back like, this was an awesome story. Let's create it. We're making it anyway. We're creating our reality, so let's make it an awesome one.
All right. Thanks, guys. See you Monday. Well, I almost said tomorrow. See you Monday.
Bye for now.
See you.